My sister seduced my boyfriend, and now she's trying to hide it. But I exposed them in front of our family. Everything was fine until it wasn't. I never saw it coming. My sister, who I've always had a complicated relationship with, decided to cross a line that I can't even begin to comprehend. It wasn't even like one of those situations where things built up slowly. No, it was sudden. It hit me like a slap in the face. She, of all people, made my life unravel. And all it took was one night, one mistake, one small thing she thought was harmless. I've been dating Ben for about a year now. He's the kind of guy I've always wanted. Loyal, hardworking, funny. I could talk to him about anything and we'd laugh about dumb stuff. We clicked in a way I never thought possible. He became my rock, the one person I could lean on. But as it turns out, he was also the one who helped destroy everything I thought I knew about family. The first sign something was off came after a night out. Ben had to leave early because of work the next day, but before he left, he was acting strange. Not in a way that was obvious at first, just enough to make me question what was going on. He seemed a bit distant, but I chalked it up to him being tired. It's a usual excuse for any guy, right? But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. He'd been acting distant for a couple of days, and honestly, I should have paid attention to that earlier. When I got home, I found my sister, Anna, on the couch, scrolling through her phone. We said our usual hellos, and I asked about her day. Nothing seemed amiss, but then she casually mentioned, "Ben left early tonight, huh?" I didn't think much of it at first, but the way she said it, it wasn't just an observation. It was like she knew more than she should have. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about it all was eating away at me. So, like any reasonable person would do, I decided to check Ben's social media. Nothing unusual there until I found a photo. A picture of Anna and Ben together. A photo that was taken just hours before. They were laughing, and it seemed like they were having a great time. Too great of a time. I didn't remember Ben mentioning this at all. Why would he hide it? The gut feeling I had only grew stronger. I confronted him the next day, casually just asking about the photo. He was defensive immediately. He stumbled through his words, trying to explain that Anna had just run into him by chance, and they decided to snap a quick pic. The explanation felt rehearsed, too smooth, but I let it slide. Still, the feeling wouldn't leave me. Something wasn't adding up, and I had a feeling I knew exactly where it was going. But I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Yet, I tried to keep my calm, to pretend like everything was fine, but I knew I couldn't ignore the gut feeling anymore. It kept nagging at me, and I couldn't stop thinking about the photo. The smile on Ben's face, it didn't sit right. It was too comfortable, too close, too intimate. I couldn't shake the idea that there was something more going on between him and Anna than either of them was letting on. I'm not the type to let things slide, and I had to confront this head on. If there was one thing I knew for sure, it was that I deserved the truth, no matter how ugly or painful that truth might be. The following day, I took a deep breath and sat down with Ben. We'd been texting all morning, and it felt like the right time to finally clear the air, but when I asked him about the picture with Anna again, he didn't give me the same defensive response as before. Instead, he seemed uncomfortable, like he knew what was coming. "Ben," I started, trying to keep my voice steady. "Why didn't you tell me about that photo with Anna last night? You know, the one where you're laughing together like you've known each other for years?" He shifted in his seat. His eyes darted away from mine. "That was my first red flag. It was nothing," he muttered, his voice dropping slightly. "Anna just showed up. We were talking, and it felt like a good moment to take a picture." I stared at him for a moment, trying to read his face. I wasn't buying it. It didn't make sense, but I needed more than just a hunch. "Ben, don't lie to me," I said quietly. "I know something's going on. I've seen how you two act around each other." His face paled. He ran a hand through his hair. I knew I had him now. I pushed further. Are you and Anna involved?" He sighed, a long, defeated sound. And that's when I saw it. His eyes, the way they avoided mine, he was guilty. The weight of the truth was finally breaking through. "I didn't want to hurt you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But yeah, we've been seeing each other. I didn't know how to tell you, and I didn't want to lose you." The world felt like it was spinning. It was the last thing I expected to hear. And yet somehow it felt like the only thing that could make sense of everything. The late nights, the secrecy, the odd behavior. It was all coming together now, but I couldn't process it fast enough. "You've been seeing her?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Behind my back," he nodded, guilt written all over his face. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to happen. I don't know how it went this far, but I didn't want you to find out like this." I stood up, my heart racing. I wanted to scream, to throw something, but I was frozen. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was the worst kind. The kind where your own sister and boyfriend conspire together, building a web of lies that you couldn't even see. And here I was, sitting in the middle of it. "I don't even know who you are anymore," I said, my voice barely audible. "How long has this been going on?" Ben looked away, his silence saying more than enough. That was the final blow. I turned away from him, trying to steady myself. I didn't want to break down. I couldn't let him see how much he'd destroyed me. The trust I'd given him was shattered in an instant, but it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I had to confront Anna. I couldn't just let her off the hook. If she thought she could hide behind a pretty face and pretend nothing happened, she was in for a rude awakening. But before I did that, I needed a minute. I needed to figure out how to face the truth, and more importantly, how to face her. I didn't want to face Anna, but I had no choice. She was the one who helped tear my life apart, and I needed answers. I couldn't just sit back and pretend like everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. I knew I couldn't let her get away with it. The idea that she thought she could manipulate everyone around her, including me, was too much. She thought she could hide behind the fact that we were sisters, that we shared blood, but that didn't mean I owed her any loyalty. Not after this. I waited until she was alone, sitting in the living room, mindlessly flipping through her phone, the calm before the storm. I took a deep breath and walked over to her, trying to keep my emotions in check, but my anger was building with every step. "Anna," I said, my voice sharp. She looked up from her phone, her expression unreadable. "Yeah?" I stood there for a second, trying to collect myself, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. "I know about you and Ben." Her face shifted ever so slightly, her eyes widening, but she quickly masked it with a nonchalant shrug. "What are you talking about?" I didn't waste any time. "Don't lie to me. I saw the photos, Anna. I know you've been seeing him behind my back." The moment the words left my mouth, I saw her stiffen. The look on her face wasn't shock anymore. It was guilt. She knew she was caught. I watched as she slowly set her phone down, her fingers trembling. "You don't understand," she said, trying to sound calm, but I could hear the nervousness creeping into her voice. "No, I get it. I get that you're selfish. I get that you wanted Ben for yourself, but I don't get how you could do this to me," I said, my voice trembling with rage. "You've been sleeping with him, behind my back. You knew how much I loved him, and you did it anyway." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. She was silent for a few seconds before finally speaking, her tone low, almost apologetic. "It wasn't like that, and it just happened." I could feel the anger boiling up in me again. "You're telling me it just happened? You think I'm that stupid? You've been lying to me, Anna, lying to both of us, and you're going to stand here and tell me it just happened?" She looked away, unable to meet my gaze. "I didn't want to hurt you. I never meant for it to go this far. It was just a mistake." "A mistake?" I repeated, disbelief in my voice. "You think sleeping with my boyfriend is a mistake? You think that's something that just happens? That's not a mistake. That's a choice. A choice you made, and now you're going to face the consequences." Anna's eyes filled with tears, but I wasn't moved. She had made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. "I'm sorry," she whispered, but the apology felt hollow. It was too little, too late. I couldn't keep looking at her anymore. I turned away, pacing the room, trying to process everything. The anger, the betrayal, the pain, all of it crashing down on me at once. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to fix this, and I certainly didn't know how I was going to face my family after all this was exposed. I stopped pacing and looked at her again, this time with a cold expression. "You've ruined everything," I said quietly, my voice steady now, devoid of emotion. "You've destroyed my relationship, my trust, and now you want me to just forgive you? To act like nothing happened?" Anna didn't answer. She just sat there, crying silently. But I didn't feel sorry for her. I couldn't. She didn't deserve my sympathy. She had betrayed me, and I wasn't about to let that go. "I don't know what you expected me to do, but I'm done with this," I said, my voice low but firm. "I'll never trust you again. You've crossed a line I can't forgive." And with that, I walked out of the room, leaving my sister sitting there with the consequences of her actions. I thought confronting Anna would bring some sense of closure, some clarity, but it didn't. It made everything worse. The weight of the betrayal felt even heavier now that I had actually looked her in the eye and heard the words come out of her mouth. She wasn't sorry. Not really. She was sorry that she got caught, sure, but she wasn't sorry for what she did to me. That's what hurt the most. She was sorry that her secret was exposed. That's all. But there was no turning back now. I knew what I had to do. The family couldn't stay in the dark about this any longer. I couldn't pretend everything was fine, act like nothing happened, not when everything had been torn apart so thoroughly. I didn't know how to break the news to our parents. They'd always been so supportive of my relationship with Ben, and I knew this would crush them. But I also knew I couldn't protect them from the truth anymore. They deserved to know, and they needed to hear it from me, not from gossip or rumors. I decided to tell them that evening. The dinner table was set, the usual calm atmosphere hanging in the air as I sat down. Anna was already there, her eyes swollen from crying earlier. She avoided looking at me, and I could feel her guilt hanging in the air like a cloud. But there was no time to dwell on it. I had to do this. "Mom, Dad," I started, my voice steady but cold. "There's something you need to know." They both looked up at me, their expressions expectant. My mom smiled, thinking it was just a normal conversation, but my dad, he looked like he was already sensing something was wrong. The air felt thick with tension. "Is everything okay?" Mom asked, a little too cheerfully. I swallowed hard. There was no easy way to say this, no way to make it sound better than it was. "It's not okay. Ben and Anna, they've been seeing each other behind my back." Their faces froze. My mom's smile disappeared and my dad's jaw tightened. It was like they couldn't process it at first. They didn't know how to react. What do you mean?" My dad asked, his voice low, trying to comprehend what I was saying. I didn't hold back. I laid it all out. The late nights, the pictures, the lies, how Ben and Anna had been together, how they'd kept it a secret, how they thought I'd never find out. I told them everything, and as I spoke I could feel the tears burning at the back of my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Not yet. My mom was the first to speak. She was in shock, but it quickly turned to anger. "How could she do this to you?" she asked, her voice shaking with disbelief. Anna looked up then, her face pale, tears still streaming down her cheeks. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered, but no one was listening anymore. My parents were too furious, too betrayed. I wasn't the only one who had been hurt. "You did this to your sister," my dad said, his voice low and heavy with anger. "How could you think that was okay?" Anna didn't answer. She sat there, silent, broken. But it was too late for apologies. This wasn't something that could be fixed with a few words. Not after everything. The tension in the room was unbearable. The silence that followed was deafening. We all knew what was at stake. Family, trust, love, and none of it could be repaired with apologies. Not this time. But the worst part? This was just the beginning. I had already made up my mind. Ben and Anna had betrayed me, and now it was time for them to face the consequences. But the real test was how I would handle this going forward. Would I forgive them? Could I? Or was this a point of no return? As I sat there, listening to my parents' fury, I realized something. I wasn't going to let them tear me down anymore. This wasn't my fault. This wasn't something I deserved. And no matter what happened from here on out, I wasn't going to let it destroy me. The days following the revelation were a blur. My family was fractured beyond repair, and there was no going back. I couldn't undo what had been done, couldn't erase the way my world had fallen apart. But I had to face it. The betrayal stung, but I wasn't going to let it break me. Not completely. I couldn't afford that. Ben and Anna tried to reach out, but I ignored their calls, their messages. I had nothing left to say to them, not after everything. My parents? They were still angry, but they were also concerned about how things were going to move forward. They weren't ready to cut Anna out completely, but I was. I couldn't look at her without seeing the lies, without remembering everything she'd done to me. How she'd crossed the line I never thought she would. She wasn't just my sister anymore. She was a stranger who had betrayed me in the worst way possible. I went to my best friend's house to get some space, to clear my head. We sat in silence for a while, and I could feel the weight of everything pressing on me. I hadn't cried yet. I didn't know why, but I couldn't bring myself to. Maybe I was too angry. Maybe I was too hurt. But I wasn't ready to break down. Not then. But she knew. She could see it in my eyes. "How are you holding up?" she asked, her voice soft, knowing I didn't want to hear pity. "I don't know," I admitted, my voice cracking. "I just feel lost. Like everything I thought I knew about my life is gone. Ben and Anna, I never thought they'd do this. Not to me. I trusted them. You're going to get through this," she said, placing a hand on my shoulder. "You're strong, but don't bottle this up. You need to feel it. You need to let it out." I nodded, though I wasn't sure I was ready. How could I? How could I trust anyone again after all of this? I had given so much of myself to those two, and now they were gone. The relationship I had fought for, the one I thought was solid, was nothing but dust. The days turned into weeks, and the pressure from my family didn't let up. They were still angry with Anna, but they couldn't quite bring themselves to kick her out of their lives. They were trying to find some way to fix things. But I didn't want to fix it. I didn't want to find a way back to a family that had torn me apart. I ran into Anna a few days after the big reveal. She was sitting at a cafe, looking miserable. She didn't see me at first, but I could tell she was expecting me to walk up to her, to offer forgiveness, to pretend that this was just a bad chapter in a story we could rewrite. But I wasn't ready for that. I walked past her without saying a word. When she saw me, she called out, her voice shaking. "Wait," she pleaded, standing up from her chair. "Please just hear me out. I know I've hurt you. I know what I did was wrong, but No," I cut her off. "You don't get to make this right. Not with words, not with apologies. You ruined everything. And I'm done. I'm done trying to fix things that you broke." Her face crumbled, but I didn't feel sorry for her. I couldn't. I had been the one left to clean up the mess, and I wasn't going to keep pretending that we could go back to what we were. "I never meant to hurt you," she said, tears falling down her face. I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing." "Maybe you didn't," I said, my voice hard. "But you still did it, and now I'm done." I turned and walked away from her, from the girl I had once called my sister. But I wasn't just walking away from Anna. I was walking away from the whole damn situation. From the lies, from the pain. I didn't need them to validate me anymore. I didn't need Ben or Anna to make sense of my life. I was the only one who could do that. I went home that night, packed up the rest of Ben's things, and tossed them into a trash bag. It felt cathartic. It felt final. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for closure. And I had to be the one to give it to myself. I texted Anna one last time. "Don't contact me again. We're done." And just like that, the chapter closed. In the end, I learned that betrayal, no matter how deep, doesn't have to define you. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it changes you. But you get to choose how you move forward, and I was done letting them control my future.